185milessouth.com.
Smash that Patreon button.
185 Miles South, a hardcore punk rock podcast. All right, I got Bob Wilson to talk FYA Fest. What's up, dude?
What's going on, Zach?
What is going on? So this year was the 10-year anniversary of the first FYA Fest. Can you give a little short history on how it came to be?
Basically, myself and Sam Triple B both ended up living in Florida in like 2013. And he was in Orlando and I was in Pensacola. And we were talking and we're like, dude, like no bands like really tour down here. Like US tours would go down and like not touch Florida, just hit Georgia and like go over to Texas, to Cali, whatever. And we're just like, yo, like we know enough people and enough bands and like we miss seeing our friends all the time. So let's just put our heads together and fucking, get something going. So that's how the actual beginning came to be.
Yeah, let's jump right into this year. Like, what was your big walk away moment from this year? Like, you're just like, that was fucking sick.
I mean, honestly, you can't talk about it without, talking about the TUI set. Like, they just them being able to keep people's attention all these years later. Like, the demo came out in 2007, and like every new group of kids in hardcore always loves them. And just seeing them, be able to like, there's probably a couple generations of kids that got into hardcore since, they stopped kind of playing a little bit, and then be able to see them and all that was, it's always going to be awesome getting to see them play.
They are kind of like the common consensus band now, right? It's like, 20 years ago, everyone could agree on Minor Threat, and now it's like everyone can agree on TUI. Yeah,
it's just like, people from all across the board. It's like them, Cold World, a current one honestly is like Scarab. Like that's like across the board, people, of all kinds of interest in punk and hardcore, can all agree, that TUI is just like, they're fucking undeniable. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's dive into the days. So like day one, you want to give a couple of your favorite sets?
So yeah, day one, seeing Bullshit get the reaction they got was fucking dope. Just cause they're just a sick band from Sweden that I loved, and then kind of just was just like, yo, like I'm just gonna hit them up and see if they want to do a record to like make people know who the hell they are over here and put them on the fest for the same reason. So seeing them, the Kids in Out of Pocket set was crazy, and that was awesome to see. Because I'd seen them here, and I was just like, well, as I was watching the set, I was like, dude, if they play in front of a bunch of people, I feel like it'd be fucking wild. So yeah, both that and the after show set. Everybody gets hurt. You never know with like kind of the older bands if kids are gonna know what's up. And then as soon as they started, people were going wild. So that was awesome. Twitching Tongues, like I mean, I could literally name every fucking band on here, but like Twitching Tongues easily could have like headlined. I mean, Dying Fetus getting to play with people actually being able to mosh and do whatever the fuck they want and not have any bullshit happen. So yeah, that was day one. And then day two. The band the Final Agony, I don't think a lot of kids knew who they were before going into it, but then seeing people's jaws drop when Aaron Melnick was just literally just shredding on stage and just going crazy was like crazy to watch. Big Boy was that in the after show, like same thing with Out of Pocket. Like Big Boy is like going to be fucking enormous this year. I'm psyched to see what they do. I mean, yeah, again, same deal. Like I feel like there's so few sets in the last few years that just haven't just been awesome. So it's like, it's hard to like, I'm not going to sit here and fucking name 19 bands a day that had like, crazy sets, but something like Hard Stripes coming back and kids never being able to see them before now was like sick. So yeah, both days just had like, it going, from the first band to the first day, Dead Set to Tsunami playing last the second day, there's just like unbelievable sets like both days.
Yeah. That's like a thing about like the internet, like winning sometimes, right? Is like, there's a little softer of a landing for if you're booking someone like Everybody Gets Hurt, or you're booking like someone coming back like Hard Stripes, like people can go and discover them that day. In fact, you're kind of reintroducing them to a bunch of people that may have not heard them the first time around, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, because a younger kid sees like a dude they respect, being like, "Damn, I can't wait to see Hard Stripes again. I haven't seen them since like fucking 2016 or whatever." Or like, EGH hadn't played in like 6 or 7 years. Yeah, so it is like a kind of like a cheat code. You know what I mean? Just like if you're a younger kid, you can become an expert on something overnight. But I'll take that. A kid, doing some research and like checking out new shit and be like, dude, I fucking love this, and like getting to see the band, and maybe they never even heard of before that, and like go off for them. I feel like there's definitely worse things on earth than people discovering bands and being able to enjoy it live. You know what I mean?
No, I think it's sick. I think that's like one in the internet win column. Like I remember, back when, like it's like a band would do a cover and like you felt like a foo if you didn't know it. So
Yeah, I feel like now, especially, it's like, I mean, you can Google what the hell was that cover or whatever, and like there is good and bad with it, but I think overall, like there's when you're younger, kids are like, oh, you never saw this band, you're a fucking poser, like you never saw this shit, whatever, you don't know anything about this. And it's like, well, now this band's playing, and I might not have known it was, but I got to experience it, the way I want to experience it, and like so I don't really need some older dude telling me I missed out or I'm a poser or whatever.
Right. Plus, it's sick for the band, right? To like come back and get a response like that. Like that, everybody gets hurt. Like I saw a clip, it looked ill.
I mean, dude, yeah, and like they were so fucking pumped, and because if you're like a band like that, people in the band are just like, I don't know if these fucking 16 to 23-year-old kids are gonna, care. So, seeing their faces. I mean, same way like Bulldoze last year had fucking, it looked like Magnitude playing with the pileups. And anytime when I was younger, seeing Bulldoze, I saw there's like 4 dudes moshing and like one person singing along. So again, going back to the internet, like helping out a lot of shit. It's like, yeah, dude, like if that can reintroduce the band and then make the band have sets that kind of like are just a different experience than when, they're actually around and, have kids singing along and do whatever. I think it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, that video that came out too, like that little clip of Aaron Melnick, like fist pumping to the Dying Fetus Integrity cover. So ill.
Dude, I didn't even see it. I was like barely on my phone all weekend. And then like Monday or maybe like late Sunday night after second after show, I was kind of just like finally fucking relaxing, like laying in bed looking at shit. And then I didn't see my buddy Connor, who's in the band with him that sings and, did the whole demo and shit, posted it. And I was just fucking cracking up. I was like, this is like the most, it's just the combination of things going on there. It was like kind of like mind melting. It was cracking me up.
Yeah, I mean, like the stoke was real. You know what I mean? It's like one of those moments where it's like, oh, it's a hardcore feel good moment. You know what I mean? Like this rules.
And like I like a lot of negative things in hardcore. I like, people being dicks or just moshing hard or whatever. But when there is things like that, it's like, all right, hardcore is, just fucking awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to like turn negative on shit. And like, we do some diatribes on this pod like that, but it's like there are those moments where it's like, all right, let's just celebrate like a true legend, like no one's got anything bad to say about Aaron Melnick. Come on.
No, he's like literally one of like the most beloved like people ever in hardcore. And yeah, just seeing his face, hearing fucking Dying Fetus cover his band in front of him was fucking cracking me up. It was great.
Yeah. So you book regular hardcore shows and you do like this fest, that you've been doing for a while. Do you, and there's so many fests now, right? Like it's a full circuit. Like you can almost be a hardcore kid and like, watch videos online and go to a couple hardcore fests and like you're a legit, like bona fide hardcore kid in 2023. Do you think that like overall fests have a positive or a negative impact like on regional hardcore?
It's like definitely a difficult thing because in my opinion, there is people that kind of just fest their way into like a scene's existence, and then they don't do like the hard work year round to, build the scene up. Like you can't, when people just do a fest and they're like, okay, cool, see you next year. It's like offensive to me because, dude, I'm going to all kinds of shows, multiple times a week. I'm not saying you got to like, go to everything, but I'm like as involved as somebody can possibly be, I feel like. And then, so sometimes when I see people, they just get lazy. They say, oh, well, this dude well over here. And now more than ever, it's easy to just like hit a band up or an agent up and be like, what does this band need to play here? And then you can, do that fest in your hometown. And then it just becomes like a Warped Tour kind of thing to me where it's like a traveling circus of the same shit over and over again. So to me, like I always try to like, separate it and put, I don't want it to just be 39 bands that I like, because then it'll just be like fucking like striking distance every year or something like that, and like it's like just pointless. But I think yeah, I don't know. It's just I don't really see the positive build. Like when I don't know, it's just like weird. Like I'm also not in like, a lot of places like that do the fest, but like I think in Detroit, I think Tied Down probably really helps a lot with like the local shit, and like if you're gonna do a fest, I think because those dudes are doing shit all year round and like helping build it. So I do think if you are gonna do a fest, you should. It's kind of like your responsibility. It's like, yeah, man, like let's build up the local shit over the next 11 months and like try to find bands that are in the area that can play next year. We can put them over and like introduce them to a bunch of people who fly out or drive out to my fest. So I think there is like a positive and a negative thing to the amount of fest.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be like the positive has to be that you're getting casual kids out, and if 20% of them start going to shows year round, like that's a giant win.
Oh yeah, it's just like it's weird to me when people don't do shows at all and then they jump right to the fest shit. Like, dude, I did shows for over a decade probably before I like dipped my toes in the fucking fest water. You know what I mean? Like, so I think people, and then you get crazy expectations if you're doing a fest as opposed to just doing like a show with like your friends and all that stuff. So I think people's priorities are kind of fucked with that in general. Like, I think you kind of gotta. There's no. I'm not going to tell anybody what process to do or like what steps to take to do it, but I do think if you haven't been doing shows and don't understand how to build a show and don't have any like personal touch with it, and you're just basically just a glorified ATM for these bands and the agents, like I just think that's kind of whack. You know what I mean?
How has the process changed over the years of like doing a fest like this?
I still in general don't even like the agent shit is like very minimal with FYA. Like people hit me up with ideas, and at the end of the day, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and I don't ignore when people hit me up about shit, but like it's just I'm not just gonna be like, oh, this would be a good look according to this agent, so I'm really gonna like try to do this. Like I wouldn't do something unless I thought it made sense or something that like I fucked with or whatever. But yeah, I mean, up until last year, it was the same process. I booked the fucking thing on my phone. I didn't even have a computer till like 2021 or something like that, so I would just do it on my stupid ass like notes app, and just it was like the most chaotic trying to organize everything on earth. But it's all just hitting bands up that I want to play, hitting friends up, asking if they got something new, like things like that. So the process hasn't really changed a whole lot, but that's just mostly due to I don't have like a formula for it. You know what I mean? Like how I do things, but it's just I'm in like a groove with it, and just it works out pretty easy.
Last question. You don't have to answer this if you don't want. I can edit it, but how you feel about like agents hitting up promoters like to bid on shit? Like instead of just being like, here's a guarantee. You know what I mean? Do you want to do a show? Like do you think the bidding thing is fucking weird or what?
I fucking hate that. I think it's agent's job is like twofold to me. It's like, what I tell bands with that have it, like I don't, I don't think you're like corny if you have one, if you reach a certain level, whatever, but like when you're an agent, you work for the band, so your responsibility is do the right thing by the band as much as you can, and also you work for the fucking band. So if the band tells you they want to play a certain place or play for a certain promoter, I think that's on you to make that happen. But I mean, going back, I've hated the bidding shit forever, because the prime example is on the Have Heart tour. It was like Have Heart, my band let down, Ceremony blacklisted, or whatever. The last day of the tour should have been at this venue in New Jersey called Stelton Church. And the agent, who I'm cool with now, but he kind of just sold the show to the dude in New Jersey who offered the most amount of money. And that show did, like 400 to 700 people every night, everywhere else. And the very last show of the tour, there was like 110 people. But, it had the highest guarantee and all this shit. So, like, it could have been a legendary show at a different spot with the correct promoter. But the guy was just like, oh, well, the guy gave us the most money, so we went there. And to me, that was just like, well, dude, like, you fucked over all these bands, everybody who went to the show. Like, the only person who came out, like, good with it was, excuse me, like, the promoter got to do it. And I guess the bands got more money in their pocket. But, like, yeah, I mean, I think ultimately the balance of the best money and the best situation for the bands and the tour is much more important than, coming away with the fucking highest bid. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you think it's on the bands then more so to like communicate that to the agent?
Dude, it's drives me crazy sometimes because, I'm friends with a lot of bands that, work with agents and shit like that. Like, we'd love to do the show, but our agent said this, and that. I'm like, dude, like, you need to remind him or, him or her or whatever. They work for you. Like, if you tell him specifically, we're not doing a show in Philadelphia unless it's Bob or Joe Hardcore. I'm not playing, New York unless it's John Scanlon, like whatever. Like, it's just they think that the agent has all the power and they are just the ones working for them. And I'm like, I try to remind them as much as possible, especially when it's like when it turns like negative and they make like a stupid fucking decision or whatever. But people are just scared to stand up to their agent and just kind of like, speak how they feel, and like will privately be like, oh, I wanted to, but they also hide behind their agents with it, like, oh, our agent said we couldn't, so we can't. But and it's just like, dude, you could change this if you wanted to. You're just like too scared to like, step up and actually tell them the fucking deal. So yeah, I do think it's up to the bands to take more control of their own destiny, honestly.
Dude, I love it. Bob, you're the man. Everyone, go to FYA every year. Handle business. Anything else you want to add?
No, Scarab record should be in soon. Nuclear record should be in soon. Got a bunch coming out of Rebirth this year. And then, just if you're ever in Philadelphia, come to one of Me or Joe's shows and hope to come to FYA next year.
Yeah, I think I ordered both those records. So, but you'll never get an email from me saying, hey, where's my record at?
I appreciate that.
Hell yeah. All right, Bob, much respect. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, Zach.
Questions and answers. In this corner, the challenger, fighting out of the hard corner. From Seattle, Washington, it's the Axeman of the band Change. It is the mighty, mighty Posi, Positive Christopher Chris. And his opponent, fighting out of the core corner. From parts unknown, weight unknown. Reason he didn't pick Minor Threat in the Straight Edge Super 7, unknown. It is the reigning, defending, undisputed 185 Miles South Trivia Champion of the world, Daniel, these questions are too easy, Sant!
All right, and the first question, we shoot it off to Chris. Chris, is the till on the Chain of Strength song True Till Death spelled with one or two L's in the word till?
That's a great question. I think, but I'm not positive that it's two.
A point to Posi Chris off the bat. It's one of those ones that you think you know, but it's kind of a mind fuck.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I definitely know because I have it tattooed around my neck, and
can you see it from your eyeballs though?
No, but the tattoo artist, he's like, this is wrong. Like, why is it spelled like this? This is like someone tilling the field or a cash till. I'm like, yeah, well, it's the name of the song.
Yeah, well, wait till I get my Shall Be Jug Dead tattoo.
That's right. And that was Chris blocking an easy steal from the champ. Dan, we're keeping it Chain of Strength, though. On the cover of the True Till Death 7-inch, you can see Alex and Ryan both X'd up. Whose X is thicker?
Alex and Ryan are both X'd up. So there's only the two of them that are X'd up, and one of them has thicker X's.
Those are the two you clearly see, or I can tell who they are. They're X'd up, and one has a significantly thicker X. There will be no controversy.
I mean, it's in my mind, it's the bass player Alex that has the thicker X, but is Kurt not X? Well, that's not part of the question, right? So I'm going Alex. He's also got a pos top, so that's counts for extra edge points. So he's got the blonde pos top, so I'm going with the thicker X on the pos top.
That was the longest answer ever for Alex. The correct answer. Good job, champ. Who
I like
almost
that you said the only controversy was how long it took Dan to find that record while he was stalling.
That's right, dude. And Dan almost threw it all away in the question: is Alex or Ryan's ex thicker? And almost went with Curtis. So, what are you gonna do? Okay, this next round, I pulled some song samples, so I'm gonna play the very beginning of a song, and it's up to you to tell me what song it is. So, Chris, we are going to you for your round number 2. Here is the clip. I can play it again, but part of me will die if you don't know that one.
and just to clarify, it's the name of the song or like the band and the song? What do we?
Well, band and song, if you can, or band and getting really close on the song. We might give a little deference on some of these ones that get a little tougher.
Cool. Judge, New York Crew.
A point to Posi Chris. All right, dude.
I knew that one.
You did you, Dan? Just like you knew his first one too. Okay, let's go to you, Dan, for something a tiny bit more obscure, but as a clue, we've talked it recently.
Well, thank goodness for the old school corner that we do on these mash pods, because that's Coro, and I think the song's called Okay, or It's Okay.
It's Okay. Yeah, by Coro, 700 Club 7-inch. Dan, doing his homework, knowing what's up. I love it. Okay, Chris, we're going to you for your next. Oh, go ahead.
That 7-inch has even improved in my. When we talked it on the pod, I've listened to it more and more since then because of that repress I picked up at Econo Jam Records here in Oakland. I picked up the repress and I've jammed it quite a lot more since then.
Yeah, shout out to Sorry State for repressing that. And I looked at like their year-end newsletter, and it was funny because like they had the top 10 sellers for their physical store, and it was like, you know, really mainstream shit, a lot of it, right? It'd be like, oh, you know, Whitney Houston, Madonna, and then the Coro 7-inch. I was like, sick, dude. There was like literally 2 like punk things on the list, and one was a Coro 7-inch and one was like a skull shirt. I was like, what? Okay.
I know, it was Lauryn Hill number 1, Coro number 2.
Yes. I was like, Coro coming out swinging. I love it, dude. So sick. Okay, Chris, let's go to you for your third round. Here we go. You only got a little bit. That's an iconic intro.
My dreams are nightmares, and now they're all coming true. You know, when it first came in, I thought it was Impact from Chain for a second, but that's the down presser intro, baby. If I didn't get that one right, I might have to get run out of California.
That's right. That's right. Point to Chris. That is the down presser intro off their Split with Creatures, one of the greatest hardcore intros of all time. Handle business, people. Okay, Dan, we are going to you for your round number 3. And yeah, all eyes are going to be on you here. Let's see here. Dude, not even a drum hit. Not even a drum hit, but let's see if you know this.
You know I know this. You know I know this because I'm just trying to do it all for the fame.
That's right. That's right. It is
E-Town.
Yep, E-Town Concrete for the fame. Dan knows, off the Time to Shine CD. Someone repressed that on vinyl this year. The fuck?
Camel Clutch.
Dude, no. But someone, and I will buy 2 copies. So that's what's up. All right, a point to Dan. And we go back to Chris. Here we go with his round number 4.
What's that?
Well, I was going to give you a clue because now we're getting like a little more obscure. And pressure's on, dude. Northeast. What's up? Or excuse me, Northwest. Northeast. Shittiest clue ever. Old band from the Northwest.
So you're saying they're from the Northwest or the Northeast potentially?
That's right. They're not from Florida.
That bass tone sounds so familiar. Can you hit me with it again?
Yeah. Here we go.
Oh, is it Lockjaw?
It is. Yeah, right behind Poison Idea, Portland's favorite old school hardcore punk band. And Lockjaw, Death to Cops from the Shock Value 7-inch. Chris, you're welcome home anytime for Christmas or major holidays for just another gig. All that still. You're welcome with open arms.
Well, hey, I'm going to call controversy. He didn't say the song title.
Wow, did you call the song title on Coro?
Yeah, I said okay or it's okay. So yeah, okay, it's
if
okay.
If you want, I can call it now.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, well, Dan, for next round, we're going to demand the band name, song title, what record it's from, and the year. So,
death to cops like me trying to pull Chris over.
82?
Yes, 82. Shock Value 7-inch. Chris.
Yeah.
No bonus points, but much respect in the southeast of Portland. Okay, Dan, let's go to you. If you get this band, you're going to get a point. So here we go.
That is very familiar. Is this off of something that you and I had talked about on? Can I hear it one more time?
Yeah, I'll give you a big clue. We talked about this after we did the Japanese starter kit with Jeremy. So it wasn't on there, but it's like I talked like the early 80s stuff that I actually enjoy. So here you go.
Yeah, because this is off the one of those comps, but this is when you guys were talking this, I totally like dove down onto listening to a bunch of this. I even hit up my main man Jeff Jock for.
I think that they were on the Pusshead comp, but this is not the song from it.
No. I had a Dropbox dropped of a bunch of stuff. God, what's the name of this band?
Here, one more time, and you think about it.
Yeah. Because I thought like this riff sounds so like Diano Maiden era, to an extent. Is this band's name Execute?
Yeah, The Execute, but yes. Nailed it. The Execute, Blackwater, Hardcore Temptation 7-inch, 1983. The Champ, don't miss. What's up, Dan?
Do you know I just picked up Reggie? I just picked up Reggie and did a lap of honor around the living room.
I love it. Okay, we are done with those rounds, and you guys haven't missed anything yet. So let's see if I can throw you a softball. But Chris, again, if you don't get this one, it's going to hurt my feelings.
Well, I'm going to have to shout out Jeff Jock for putting that song on a mix he made me.
Well, hell yeah. Shout out Jeff Jock. What's up? Okay, Chris, let's go to you for round number 5. Chris, what is the greatest hardcore song of all time?
Oh, no. I know it's Agnostic Front. I don't remember which one, though. Victim in Pain?
We go to Dan for the potential steal. Dan, what is the greatest hardcore song of all time?
I mean, how does Chris not know this at this point in time? Like, it's so funny that he doesn't know that.
Dude, I can't even remember like the names of my own band songs. So
all right, Chris, but let me just tell you, the greatest hardcore song of all time is "Blind Justice" into "Last Warning."
That's right.
Oh, that's right.
That is correct.
It's a twofer.
That is correct.
It's a patented Sant special.
Yep, that is correct. Okay, let's go to Dan for his round number 5. Dan, which came first? The Damned's live album from Shepperton or Newcastle?
Well, Shepperton's in like London, so I would assume that they would have played Shepperton before they played Newcastle. So I'm just going to guess through some logic, the Damned live in Shepperton.
Point to the champ. Shepperton came out in 1982, and the Newcastle one came out in 1983. Holy shit. Okay, let's go to Chris for his round number 6. Chris, is the first Uniform Choice album called A, Screaming for Change, B, Screaming for a Change, C, Scream for Change, or D, Scream for the Change?
I wish it was D. Is it A?
It is A, Screaming for Change. A point to Chris. Dan, would you have stole that one?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. All right, Dan, this is a before and after. Do you remember the concept?
Yeah.
All right. We're going to Wheel of Fortune. Dan, the band who released the 12-inch Danger Zone in 1981 and the band whose video on Cinema Beer Tay depicted the singer riding around town with a keg strapped to his back.
Can you say the clue again?
Yes. The band who released Danger Zone in 1981 and the band whose video on Cinema Beer Tay depicted the singer riding around town with a keg strapped to his back.
And I've got to do the whole band and then the second band, or just a part of it?
Well, they share the middle word.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. I get you. I thought you would. Okay. So yes. Well, now you've confirmed who it is for me. It's China Whitecaps.
The champ don't miss. The champ don't miss. Okay, Dan, 7 for 7. Jesus Christ. And let's see what we got for Chris. Chris with a noble 5. That's a winning total on many days. And yeah, now it's time to get down.
What? What? Okay.
All right, Dan, you got 7 points. How many you want to wager?
All 7.
Dude. Hell yeah. Chris, you got 5 points. How many you want to wager?
All 5.
Dude, we going all in. Here we go. All right. Dan, let's go to you first. Here we go.
He's given a very different delivery on this. Very different.
Dan, that was just a gag. I would never expect you to get that.
Okay.
I just found that one when I was searching for ones to do. This one goes, to those who started it, to those who stick to it, our appreciation, this one's for you. Everyone come up front, sing along.
For you is the only words that are real in that.
That's right. Okay, Dan, let's go to you for your real one. Here we go. Much easier.
Is it from the same song?
Much easier. Yeah, I think so.
Oh my God. Can I hear it 3 times in a row?
Yeah, here you go.
Well, I can hear that he's saying generation, and the last word that he says sounds like he says something, and the BBC. Can I hear it one more time, please?
Of course.
One more time. This is for a new generation. This is for those who want to see.
Damn. Should have wagered 6. Should have wagered 6, Dan. Today, a new breed carries on. Open your mind, because it's a diverse scene. Everyone, come up front, sing along.
Respect. That first line is exactly what you said. The second line is a bunch of jibber jabber.
Dude, it's pretty clear. Listen one more time. Yeah, the open your mind is a little wonk, but like everything else that's about as clear as he gets, dude.
It sounds pretty hard too. Like respect. It sounds good.
It's a sick ass part. Couldn't tell you the song. I didn't write it down, unfortunately. It's from the first LP. It's from the first LP for sure. That's what I'm digging off of now. Okay, Chris, we go to you for yours. Here we go.
I definitely should have not wagered all my points just so that we didn't have to do another tiebreaker.
I know you would have won for sure because Dan already won.
Tiebreakers.
I don't know what was going on there.
I hate the tiebreakers because I don't know the names of any songs.
Okay, I'll do one that's not that. Okay, here we go. Chris, one more time. Here we go.
Man, that one's tough because I feel like I know what he's saying first, but then the next part isn't what would come off of it. So I have no idea what any word is. Give me it 3 times in a row.
Here we go.
I know this.
Wow.
Dude.
I don't.
All right. You want to take a shot at? Okay, Chris, if you're not going to try, Dan, you want to take a shot at this?
Yeah, go for it. Because I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know where to go on that one.
It's something like, to those who piled on and those who sang along, this one's for you, or something like that.
It's a goddamn shame that this isn't a steal because Dan got another one. Yep, it is. To those who piled on, those who sang along, this one's for you. It's a double donut, people, which means we're going to the tiebreaker round. Chris made the noble request that he doesn't like the song title one, and so we can respect that.
It wasn't a request; it was just a complaint.
That's true. That's true. So I have one that is not songs. Everything else is. Okay, Dan, you can go first. Let's see. Did you take your question first? Chris, you're going first. It's Revelation 1 through 22.
Okay. Warzone.
Got it, Dan.
Together comp.
Oh, we just going down the list? Okay.
Sick of it all.
He really is. He really is going down the list.
Yep.
Love it.
No, because I don't know where the list goes after that.
Well, I'm going to just go to number 5 instead of 4. I'm going side by side. You're only young once.
That is number 5. Okay, Chris, back to you.
Ooh, that's where I was going. Judge?
Yep. Where are you? Well, you got to tell me which record.
New York Crew.
Okay. All right, Dan, back to you.
Well, then I'll just get Judge Bringing It Down out the way.
There it is. Rev 15, bringing it down. back-to-back 14, 15. Okay, back to you, Chris.
We're going through 20?
22.
22. Is start today in there?
It is. That would be, where are you at? It is Rev 12. Okay, Dan, back to you.
Well, then I'll do Rev 4 Gorilla Biscuits, 7-inch.
It's there. Chris, back to you.
Burn?
That is number 22. That's as far as we're taking it because
that's the apex.
That is the apex. Then the marshmallow falls off a stick and it's a bunch of alt rock. So, all right.
Well, then I'm gonna do the yin to the yang of the apex, Inside Out, No Spiritual Surrender.
Respect, Rev 19, Inside Out. Okay, back to you, Chris.
Man, I know there's like a ton of just obvious ones that I'm forgetting. What about Slipknot?
Yes, Rev 13. There you are.
Wow.
Dan, back to you.
Well, it's a timely one because we talked it earlier, Chain of Strength.
Yep. Which album?
Album. Okay, then the one thing that still holds true, I suppose.
I mean, technically, I think they gave it one of those early ones, but
they gave it Rev. They called it Rev 10 because it's the True Till Death 7-inch and then the Foundation. Like
that's right. That's right.
I don't know. It's a really weird thing, but I would just say Chain of Strength, True Till Death 7-inch is
fair. I mean, there was a wrong answer, right? If you chose the second 7-inch, so that's why we had to clarify. Okay, back to you, Chris.
Oh man, I can't even think of any others.
We'll give you a couple seconds before we crown Dan the undefeated champ again.
Well, technically, I'd have to get one more if Chris flubs.
That's true. A noble. See, that's what a champ does. Okay, Dan, do one more and let's put that knife wound in Chris.
The Way It Is comp.
There it is. Okay, everyone, bow to the champ. Dan, congratulations, and that's what's up.
Way to go, dude.
What's up, everyone? We are back and talking hardcore. Helping out. You know him. You love him. It is the best dressed man on the pod. It is Daniel Sant. What's up, Dan?
Yo.
Sup?
My mind went blank. Can we do another Bring It In again?
No, that was good. There's always next month. Also helping out, 6'2". What you gonna do? It is the mighty Posi Chris. What's up, Chris?
What's cracking?
What is going on? All right, dude. It's 2024. Let's fucking go. We did a lot on 2023 last month. We did our award show and we did a Super 7 of the year. So let's just kick it off, dude. Last year we talked our wish lists, and I don't think any of mine came true. So my first two, I'm going to keep them going. I want Turnstile to take Drain on tour. I think that Drain has like the personality and like they'd be a perfect band opening to like that giant crowd. You know, the personality coming through would like really resonate with all the people that love Turnstile. So I still want to see that happen. And I still want to see one of those fools that crowd kills from the stage get stabbed. That didn't happen last year. So I'm going to hold out and hopefully it happens in 2024. Dan, do you have any wish list items for this year?
Yes. Number one, I would like going forward for all of 2024 and into infinity. Shout out Souls of Mischief. I don't want anyone to say the word faggot in a pit hype ever again. Period.
Straight up.
I think that is the weakest shit out there, and it just sucks. So that's number one wish list. Number two, I would love a high-vis LP to sneak in at the end of the year. I really would like that. And number three, I want to find a way of celebrating new music even more and sharing it with friends and just talking music on the pod and talking music in person with everyone, because it is the life's blood and it is what the community is. Like, I enjoy the community that we have in hardcore, and I just want to celebrate all the great stuff and just tell people about songs and things, just kind of like we do on the pod, but I've been doing it a lot more in real life as well, and it has been really fun. So I'm going to keep that going.
All right, I'm going to toss out a couple more, and then we will go to Chris. Tonight we're going to do Dan's review of Poison Idea, Pick Your King. He made a pledge to us at the end of last year that he was going to go through the catalog, and I'm excited about that. So one of my 2024 wish list items is Dan continues his journey, and this is a monthly thing, and we go through the Poison Idea catalog together. So I'd like to see that happen. Also, I'd like part 2 of the Matt Henderson interview on the This Is Hardcore podcast. Matt Henderson, greatest American songwriter of all time, and he's been so good to our podcast. We've done like the AF1 Voice Pod, and we did Madball Set It Off, and he's just a real fucking resource. He's a fucking man, and Joe Hardcore did a great interview with him that brought it up, to kind of him joining Madball. But I want to see it go all the way to the present time. So that's what's up. Chris, Hardcore Wish List 2024, what you got?
Yeah, before I share mine, I do want to say, you said that no crowd killers stage crowd killers got stabbed, but I did see Jay Mindforce swinging his sword like a gavel on social media, putting the blast on those fools. So
yes.
Respect.
Yeah, that's a nice little pushback. So maybe the tide's turning a little bit on like that straight up nerd behavior,
Yeah. I mean, especially when you see like a lot of the people that are like co-signing are like, people that are in some like the hardest bands.
For sure. Chris, go into yours, and then I'll speak on that a little more to end on a negative note.
Yeah. So I got two others, and the first one is simple, and it kind of plays off that, I guess, is that's just more stage dives, more pylons. It's happening for certain bands, Tsunami shows you go to, Pain of Truth shows you go to, and there's big sing-along stage dives, and I want to see more of that because that's just like the best stuff. And then the other thing that I put is actually what Dan put and what Zach already co-signed, and that's less casual homophobia in hardcore. I know everything goes in cycles, and there's always pushback against people overcorrecting too hard, and that line tends to like kind of get pushed back and forth. But I think using phobic slurs is something that just shouldn't be negotiable. It's just too important. I think our queer community members face enough alienation and just depression from like the fascist government policies, the overzealous religious bigots that they have to face, every day in their lives. They don't need to come into this place that they love and hear like some of this from the people in their hardcore family, like casually throwing around that language. It's hurtful and exclusionary, and it's just whack. And I will just add to that, like the late great Ron Gardapi said, there should be no tolerance for ignorance. And for me, that doesn't mean just stomping out Nazis. Yes, it is that, but I like to think that no tolerance for ignorance should also be like an introspective thing where we look inside of ourselves and we look at our own actions and with the objective of stomping out any of our own ignorant behaviors.
Yeah, I agree with that, but it's more than just mosh calls. It's like a full permission structure created by a group of people online with no skin in the game who just want to say edgy shit for the sake of being edgy, and what is edgy, right? Like making people feel othered, like that's not edgy. Like discriminating against people or making people scared, that's not edgy, the people that feel like they're outcasts, like from normal society, are the ones that like we should be embracing the most, right? Like that's kind of, regardless of our backgrounds and shit, I think that that's like one of the things that like all of us lifers have in common. You know, like we're all freaks in some fashion, you know, whether it's like the way we think, the way we live, you know, believing that like expression is just as important, like as like stability in your life, you know, or that keeping up with the Joneses is like a fucking sucker's deal. You know what I mean? Dan, I'm making sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I feel the people who are the most outcasts of society that are finding their way to hardcore are finally coming home, and they should be embraced and not ran away by hate language.
Right. Yeah, cuz like I think right now it's creeping in, you know, because like at this moment like hardcore isn't really about shit. You know what I mean? And I think this is kind of weird, but like my theory on it is that everyone having high speed internet on their phone like was the final nail in the coffin of regional hardcore. You know what I mean? So like instead of learning about hardcore from people like in their scene who are like tried and true and like have respected opinions and haven't gotten weeded out like by history, you know, by being shitty people. You know what I mean? Like there's no like elders that people are looking to for like, you know, the history of hardcore. They're getting their opinions online by like other equally clueless people. You know what I mean? And you know, I see a little bit of it in San Diego, right? Like kids that go to shows, like just like the national acts, you know, and like they're not supporting the grassroots hardcore stuff, which is like really the backbone of what keeps this thing together. You know, like a scene, it can't survive on like a handful or two of big shows a year, you know, that are packaged tours without like locals on the bill, you know, or like the local plays first when no one's there and end up looking like shit. You know what I mean? And I don't want to go too far into that because like those kids are actually like, you know, at the end of the day, they're going to shows, right? So they're like a piece of this thing, you know, and you know, hardcore survives from people breathing life into it. And I think that a big part of that is like bands have to stand for something, right? Like bands should have like a mission statement, you know, like whether it's like their message or their ethics, like just something. I want you to be about something. You know, it's got to be more than music. Cause like, you know, we've talked about on the pod a bunch, like ever since 1986, you know, AF puts out a crossover record. Like metal is in this thing. Like it's no longer like just a harder version of punk. You know what I mean? Like metal never leaves, dude. And like the hardcore, it's still hardcore, right? Roger is one of the punkest dudes of all time. You know, so I think like at the end of the day, we got to like peel it back and be like, so what like really makes hardcore great? You know, it's a piece of it's the music. A piece of it also has to be like the message, and a piece of it has to be like the roots of this thing, right? That it's like real building blocks that like got us here, and like there needs to be an acknowledgement, like that this thing has history, and the history should be like it should be respected. You know, online there's. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's really a really interesting point. I mean, the one thing I would say to that though is there can be a band that has lyrics that, you know, necessarily aren't necessarily about like something. They could be all like stabbed in the back, blah blah blah. But if that band is showing up at all the local shows and doing things, then they're being hardcore in their actions and not just in the message, you know?
100%. Like that's what they're about, right? They could be about popping off their local hardcore scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's a mission statement. That's what it's about. You know, like that's a great thing for a band to be about. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm not saying that you have to have political lyrics or anything. I'm just saying be about something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And really what I'm getting into is that like online, and again, like I feel like old man complaining about people online, right? But like there's no accountability online for like whack opinions because there's no shame, right? Like you can just change your screen name or your Twitter handle or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? Like, and I've really been on board in the last few years with like the zero gatekeeping. I think it's good. You know, I think everyone's welcome and should like carve out their piece of it. And I can even enjoy like a bit of the mentality of like younger kids that like give zero fucks about the old school. Like I like a little bit of that mentality of like the new eating the old, you know, like 'cause there has to be a youth movement, you know. But sometimes I do wonder like if the gates swung open like a bit too much and there isn't any importance put on like that there's like an ethos here or there should be an ethos and like there's a history, You know what I mean? Like, not to like pull up old shit, but like, last year that was fucking crazy that we had all those fools like coming at J Mind Force, like for basically just telling the crowd in a room that there's no feeling like being at a hardcore show. You know what I mean? It's like the least controversial statement of all time. You know what I mean? And like, what the fuck, dude? He was totally right. Like participation is a part of this thing. You know what I mean? The kids that go to shows and pay at the door are the backbone of hardcore, straight up. He was right. Watching hardcore videos does not make you hardcore, and we pussyfooted around it because we want to be nice to everyone, and that's fine. Like, I get it. But like, we could have just said, Jay's right, and the butthurt kids online are wrong. And that doesn't mean that like those kids don't have value in like every other aspect of their life, or that like being wrong about something dumb fucking matters, right? Like, it's okay to be a dumbass kid. That's like the point. That's half the point of being a kid, is like being like fucking dumb on some of your opinions, right?
Yeah, I just think the celebration of ignorance without any tongue-in-cheek towards it is where this really starts to be a problem, and where the celebration of ignorant statements and like lauding that, it's not even like being like going back on or backlash against being PC. It's almost just the celebration of bully behavior. And I don't, call me a fucking pussy. I don't give a shit. I just think as a collective, we are better than that.
Yeah, but I do think that I agree with you 100%. But I think, again, like what I keep circling back to is like the pervasiveness of this, like showing up, I think is because like a lot of people don't know the roots, right? Like, it was only recently, like I saw, like there was a Twitter article. It was like an interview with Zulu, right? And like they said there would be no hardcore without black culture, And of course, like when you're in the comments, there's a bunch of fucking smooth brain morons like getting butthurt over that. You know what I mean? But like, here's the thing, dude. Like, they're not wrong. You know what I mean? Like, everyone was chasing the bad brains, right? If you know your history, you know that. DC chased the bad brains, right? And DC spawned like maybe the most influential scene in the history of hardcore punk, right? With the Discord stuff. And then Bad Brains moved to New York. Everyone chased the Bad Brains. You know what I mean? Like, who was the first hardcore band with real impact? Like, it's them, dude. And everyone, don't get at me. Like, I know the middle class 7-inch outdates the Bad Brains. You know what I mean? But like, if you're talking impact, it's the Bad Brains. And I know that there's like other people that say like, the Stimulators or the Mad, like that's it. But it's like, dude, people are chasing the Bad Brains, right? And like,
well, not just that. And
just real quick. And that's only like that's like the very, very beginning of hardcore I'm talking about. Like, that's not even taking into account, like, your favorite 7-inch, right? What's up with the side-by-side record cover? You know what I mean? What's up with like when 80s hip hop hits in like the late 80s, and like it goes on, and like right now, like there's more bounce in hardcore than ever before, right?
100%. That's what I was about to say. And I was just about to say there would be no NYHC without NY hip hop.
Right.
Like, they were on the same streets, and the cultures fused.
Right. But it would be ridiculous to say that like a lot of that is not black culture, right?
It's 100% derived from, I mean, it's derived from a fusion of culture, and black culture entering in being something all the way back from Robert Johnson. Black culture has been absolutely copied and lauded by white culture.
Of course.
And it can be seen in hardcore now. And
right.
So that's the most truthful statement and least controversial statement.
Right. And it's just wild to see, like, again, online nerds getting butthurt over something where it's like, if you just knew like a little bit of rudimentary history, you wouldn't be so butthurt about it. Like, you can't be butthurt about the truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and also you wouldn't even be butthurt if you were there in person, but you've got a screen to be behind.
Right. And just a touch again, like on the homophobia, which is where this started, right? Like the LGBTQ people have been like a huge part of this thing. in the building blocks from the beginning, right? Like, I mean, if you want to go not even pre-hardcore, but pre-punk, New York Dolls, right? But if you want to go back to what I'm talking about in like the very beginning of the 80s, in New York, you got the Stimulators, you got Rat Cage Records, right? Like it's right there on like the ground floor of this starting, right? The Dicks, the Big Boys, MDC, like this is all integral shit to the history of hardcore, right? So like when you're making homophobic slurs in passing and you think it's cool, like maybe think like what would hardcore have been without like any of those things, right? Like what is it without like the Stimulators, without Rat Cage Records, without the Dicks, without the Big Boys, without MDC? Like hardcore could be completely different. You know what I mean? And so I just think, go ahead, Dan.
Just one even earlier building block, Wayne County turning to Jane County and being like, what an influence in the Max's Kansas City, which then leads into the CBGB's world. And, Handsome Dick Manitoba apparently blasted Jane County with slurs, and Jane County beat his fucking ass.
All right, yes. Yeah. So bringing it back though to like the 2024 wish list, right? Like I just think that I'm ready for there to be a little bit of a thinning out, right? And I know that like that kind of goes against like, what the common like zeitgeist of hardcore is when we're like rooting for everyone and we want it to be bigger than ever and all that bullshit. But like, I don't know. I do want, if I'm being honest with myself, I do want like a little bit of like a back to roots, like back to like an Only the Diehards, because I just think like this is what happens when shit gets too big and like it just kind of is all about having a good time, right? Like hardcore is more about like just it's about more than just stage dives, you know what I mean? And then like sometime I'll articulate like this theory better because I've been like teasing it on the pod for a while. I teased it on like the Substack, but like I really think the hardcore right now is like propped up by two things, and like the first is crazy TikTok videos, what I mean, that kids see and they either like want to emulate it in person or they like want to just show up and witness it, right? And so that's how you get like that bullshit behavior, like the crowd killing from the stage, right? Like some nerd sees one guy do it and then it starts getting emulated all across the country because it looks extreme on video. You know what I mean? So people either want to do it or they want to like fucking go see it live because it's crazy, right? It's like watching a fucking Jackass video. And then the other piece of that is that like, so many of the popular bands in hardcore right now are like, basically playing like alternative rock, like the hardcore adjacent stuff, which is rad. It's cool that people love all that stuff and like it's fucking righteous, right? But like I think that like the combination of the two is wild, right? Because you have like the crazy TikTok videos, which like bring in kids, right, with like the online engagement and they can engage with that. And then you have this like safe landing zone of like this, alternative rock, like, that is there and popular and can be like monetized, with corporate sponsorships or like, we've seen in the last couple of years, like you have the industry folk, like kind of like sniffing around again. Right. Like, and I don't know, dude, like I want everyone to be happy and everything, but like, it's embarrassing to me when like people give a fuck about a Grammy, you know what I mean? Or people give a fuck about being like on a Brooklyn Vegan or a pitchfork, excuse me, year-end list. Like, I don't know. Hardcore is better than that. And I don't think that like we should be chasing like accolades outside, right? Like it's silly. Like I would, if Retaliate did another record, like I'd much rather be like on a Felix Von Havoc like year-end list, or a Dan Sant year-end list or a Tom Sheehan year-end list. Like that matters like a lot fucking more than like a fucking Stereo Gum list. Like who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck?
Obviously winning the 185 beat down part of the year is like is the most important thing.
That's right. That's the cream of the crop, as Macho Man would say. But yeah, I mean, like that's it, dude. Like my 2024 wish list would just be like it gets thinned out a little bit. Like there's a bigger embrace of roots hardcore, both sonically and like an appreciation of like the building blocks that like led to this current moment. And Chris said it right. No tolerance for ignorance. We say on the pod, or we used to say it a lot more. We haven't said it a lot lately, but like more anti-racist songs, more unity songs. They're never enough. And anyone that thinks that's corny is wrong.
I'm taking it back to the old school because I'm an old fool. I'm taking it back to the old school because I'm an old fool. Yo, what's up, motherfuckers? Old school.
Let's go on. Dan, you are taking your Poison Idea journey. So what do you think about the first 7-inch Poison Idea? Pick your king.
Well, for a 7-inch, there's an awful lot of songs. That's right. Value for money.
That's right.
That's the first thing I'm going to say. Second of all, is I've heard Poison Idea time, at little parts of time in my life, but I've never dialed in. I've never gone on the journey. I've never gone hard on it. So it's interesting how other Poison Idea stuff I've heard in the past doesn't sound like this as much. What's really cool about the sound on this Pick Your King is it's like a mixture, like 1/3 this is how it sounds to me. 1/3 like Victim in Pain-esque hardcore, 1/3 UK82, and 1/3 Black Flag, all mixed up together. Is kind of giving you what this sound is, and it is raging hardcore. It's like raging early roots hardcore. It's absolutely great. It's so fast that it's hard to latch on to song after song after song, except for when you listen to it a lot. And I did that because I wanted to take this ride. And I will say I'll give you my favorites from it. Self-Abuse, my number one song off of this. That song is so good. The skank part on it is just so rad. I mean, I think that's where I like them the best is when they've got the 2 different tempos on one song. A lot of the other stuff, the 40-second songs and the 30-second songs are like it is one thing only. The song Pure Hate, so good. That song is so good. Underage, It's an Action, both are on my notes here that I loved too. And then I Hate Reggae. I hit you up the first time I was hearing it. I'm like, I hate reggae. And then, we were talking about that it could be a Bad Brains diss track perhaps, or at least tongue-in-cheek, like sounding slightly Bad Brainsy, so they make the song about hating reggae, which is interesting. I don't know. All in all, it is really good, and I can see why it's one of those ones for everyone, and I don't know how it had passed me by, especially when I'd gone back and started enjoying more like extreme roots stuff like this in, like 15, 20 years ago. And I still didn't latch onto it then. So I'm really glad to take this ride. You can ask me any questions too, if you feel like if I'm not covering it enough.
Yeah, but no. Did you sit with the lyric sheet and read along?
Yes.
I think that's a big part of it, because like he's a poet, right? Yeah. So it's like this is like so good because it's like the most basic roots hardcore played at its like absolute apex, right? So like the riffs are like pretty simple, but it's so early hardcore. The way that Jerry A dances across the top of it is like out of this world. It's like blueprint hardcore singing, right? Like his rhythm patterns are insane, and like, he doesn't sing all the words. He's like making it sound dope, right? But he's singing some of them, and there's a lyric sheet. That's fucking hardcore. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then also the drumming is fabulous. Like this record with like a different drummer, like maybe is not as classic, right? Like the drumming is like literally the backbone of this thing. It's so spectacular for like hardcore punk, like out of this world good. And then the recording is great. It's just like everything about it is like blueprint perfect hardcore punk. So yeah, and I do take your thing of like, the songs are really short and they kind of run into each other. So like if you on first listen, it's gonna run into each other, right? But when you like pull it out and you like read along with the lyrics and shit, you're like, God damn, there's no filler here, dude. And like if a band like went in and tried to recreate this, they couldn't because no one else ever did, including them. Right? Like they branch out like after this record. Not so much, but like they're never this stripped down again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I mean, this is a terrible comparison, but it's what we do here. Like the first Hatebreed LP, right? It's like it's so stripped down for what it is, right? It's like fast part, breakdown, out, and like they do a whole LP of this, and like it never gets touched again. Hatebreed can never even do it again. It's just like this crazy standalone record where like a band stripped out 100% of the bullshit and made a perfect record. You know what I mean? And like here this is and here that is. And that's why I love all sides of this big, beautiful beast. The last thing that we got that I want your take on, Dan, is how perfect is like the album cover and back album cover.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so clever. And then, like, especially with like the lyrics to Pure Hate, like referencing, the Christianity side of things too. I love it. The lyrics to Self-Abuse, they're so deep and so dark. And I mean, this is so rad that this was being sung about at that time, like whether it be from a band that did party but still know where to draw the line to an extent, or at least showing that substances are at the root of some self-abuse, and then also mental health being talked about. I don't know. It's fantastic. I now own it on vinyl because Zach did a really nice thing and told me to go to 1, 2, 3, 4 Go, and there was something waiting for me there, and it was Pick Your King on LP.
Yeah, shout out 1, 2, 3, 4 Go, because like that's sick that I was able to do that. So that was a fun thing. Chris, do you want to speak on this at all?
Yeah, I mean, just super excited for Dan to come on this journey. This record is fantastic. It's not my favorite record by them. I mean, I Feel the Darkness is my go-to. Just it's kind of weird because it's so much later. It's 1990, but like I feel like this is when they really, I don't know, they're just on all cylinders. And yes, I totally agree, Zach, with what you're saying about like them doing this record and not being able to recapture that, that fire in a bottle or whatever it is. But like they go a little somewhere else. On Feel Your Darkness is where that hits its apex. It's kind of a weird journey, but
yeah, it's not my favorite one either, to be honest with you. I like Feel the Darkness the most too. Maybe Kings of Punk. Maybe this. I don't know. Like, it's kind of like a peaks and valleys for me, although the valleys are not that deep. Like, I love every single record in this run, but it's like almost, like that. Anyway, whatever the fuck.
You can really pick your king.
That's right. They're all kings. What's up?
I also love that they put out a record in like 1986, I think, or 85 called Record Collectors Are Pretentious Assholes. Like that's such a I don't know, like future predicting name, I guess.
Yeah, it comes out the next year, and it's like their record collection on the front.
84.
Like, yeah, Jerry A and Pig Champion, notorious record collectors, and like that's why, like, Dan, when you pull those three things together, it's like they are like a group of people that are like listening to everything. You know what I mean? So, all right.
Did you think that was an accurate like analyzation?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good take. Let's move on.
And it's so funny when I Instagrammed about that, I was starting the ride. My DMs blew up with so many people saying, "Yes, this is cool," but Feel the Darkness is where it's at. Like, so many people said that. So when I get to there, we shall see.
All right, we're going to dive into some new stuff. The first thing I wanted to talk was Minus put out a 2-song EP, Joy/Take Me Out. I believe they made a tape. I haven't seen it, but everyone handle business. Check it out. There is a playlist for every episode, 185milessouth.com. Click that playlist link at the top of the page, and there's all the music there. Also, we're on Spotify, 185 Miles South, so you can find everything that way. Because this wasn't on Bandcamp, it was on Spotify. That may have all changed by the time this airs, so who knows. But Minus rules, dude. You know, one of the most underrated hardcore bands going, always consistent. And that LP they put out in 2019, Compulsion, is one of my favorite hardcore records in the last 10 years. So I listen to it still. It's still on rotation. And yeah, so it's been a minute, you know? And they came out with these 2 songs, and they are sick, dude. Dan, what do you think?
I really like these songs. They're kind of hardcore I really like. It's heavy, but it's not like metal. It's just the command of like going into the parts and the letting the song breathe in the right spots, especially on the song Joy, like going into that break. It's so good. I really, really dig both of these songs, and you know, it's the perfect. You know, we could have more. Like it could be a 4-song thing, but just getting these 2 and both of them being bangers is just so great. Like, you're not getting sick of anything, and you're wanting more at the end of it, which is the perfect, you know, it's the perfect feeling for that band to be left with. Like, you want more from them, so give us more, Minus.
Yeah, we're not gonna have to dwell over what songs to put on the playlist. That's for sure. Yeah, this is great. I do want more, so I don't know if that's the purpose or not, but yeah. The song Joy is like just a near perfect Roots hardcore song, really, right? It's like could easily be off like the Carry On Roll with the Punches 7-inch or like the Right Brigade 7-inch. It would like fit right in there. It's very like late 90s, early 2000s, like post Posi core where like it just switches a little bit meaner. You know, it's mean, it's fast. The singing is very good, dances across the top. The drumming's great. There's good dynamics in the fast parts. And then Take Me Out, they come in with some mid-tempo, and Minus always like does a really good job of tossing in like a little bit of yellow shit. Like that little skip beat they do, like on the mid-tempo part is like sick, dude. I don't even know what the fuck I'm listening to right there. It's just like this little weird off-time skip beat, and it's ill. So yeah, both songs bangers. I love this. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, that skip beat, I had to like listen to it probably like 15 times just to try and figure out kind of how to describe it. Cause it's like the drums are like going fat, like a wild fast beat, and then has like these hits that break down into like a 2-step part for like a couple bars, and then back into the fast part. So it's just like, I don't know, as close as you can get in this style of hardcore to like mathcore, maybe. But yeah, it's really cool. And then I really liked how you described it as like post Posi core, you know, like that era. You know, Carry On and Right Brigade, because yeah, that's a good description of it. But yeah, 2 songs, they both rip. A minute and a half each, about perfection. Like Joy, blazing fast for 50 seconds, and then like 20 seconds or so of hard like stomp, you know. Then it rolls into like a really hard kind of Youth Crew tom part, but for like 2-stepping, but like really angrily 2-stepping. You know, none of this like happy-go-lucky 2-stepping. It's like you're really putting a lot of oomph into those punches. And then Take Me Out has, the part that we talked about before with the skip beat. And then like the stomp breakdown on this is like so much harder. And then there's a tom part in this similar to Joy, kind of breaks into a tom part, but again, even harder and meaner than Joy. These two killer new songs, a really good snapshot of like a time when Minus was really popping. I feel like this may not be an accurate representation up in my corner of the Northwest, but my impression of kind of Minus's arc is just like there was a time when they were really popping and had a lot of momentum, and probably some of that had to do with like other other bands that they're working on, and obviously Tim's untimely death, but really cool to see this band like continuing to do stuff and to come back with such two such awesome songs.
Yep. A band I want to never break up and always put out songs every few years for the rest of time. Okay, let's go on to the band is called The Social. The EP is called Class Warfare / Dogs of War. Dan, you think it came out as a tape, but if it didn't, it's a digi EP. It's available on the playlist and all that. It's also on Bandcamp. Dan, you chose this. Let me know what's up with it.
Yeah, so this is Tom from Violent Reaction / Rated X, and he drums in the Flex. He sings and plays guitar in this, and there are two women in the band with him that when I saw them, they ripped, but I hadn't had a chance to hear anything recorded, and then this just dropped like right at the end of the year, and it's just sick UK 82 sounding, maybe a tiny tinge of oi underneath, but it's mainly giving you that UK 82 vibe. Very political, very the first song's called Class Warfare. That will tell you all you need to know. I think the sound of this is perfect. The way the guitar sounds and the drum sound is perfect for the sound of like giving you that UK 82 vibe. And then Zach saved us from being posers and pointed out that the third song is a cover by a band called Satan's Rats, and it's called You Make Me Sick, and that song is fucking awesome too, and they do a pretty damn good tougher version of the original, but they stay quite true to it. But the Dogs of War and Class Warfare, those songs are so good, and there's so much bite and vitriol in there. So much, I mean, they're just fucking fed up with the way things are all over the world, with poor people getting shit on and rich people thriving and stepping on poor people's carcasses all day, every day. So these songs are extremely pointed, and rightfully so. I think it sounds amazing, and I think people out there will really, really latch on to this and love it.
Yeah, that's the thing that jumps out at me the most, is just how good this thing sounds, especially coming off talking like the first Poison Idea record. Like, dude, this recording is fucking great. Like that guitar sounds so fuzzy and mean. Like the tone is so good. And then the drums, they sound so natural and thick and raw. Like that snare tone is just so deep. It sounds like it's like a fucking, he rigged up like a floor tom into a snare drum. You know what I mean? Like, it's so sick. The mix is perfect. The singer's voice is burly, barking, great, all that. And I think it's a great little EP, right? 2 originals that kick ass, and then you pull off like a semi-obscure cover, and it's like they do the songs straight, like Dan said, in their sound, and that's like really the best cover. Like, you wouldn't know, you know what I mean? Like, this song doesn't sound like it's a different band or anything. Like, it just kind of slides right in there. And I love that. I love like bands that love something that's like semi-obscure and want to give glory to it, you know? And so that's sick. That's like the best of a cover, in my opinion. If I was going to be discerning Dan or critical Chris, the lyrics are a little too on the nose. You know, like, because this is so perfect in the other ways that like the lyrics are just a little 13-year-old, you know, at least like the big hooks, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not asking for anyone to be Greg Graffin and pull out the thesaurus, you know, but like Class Warfare and Dogs of War, like this has been, you know, done over for a long time. And maybe just one layer further of creativity there would be cool, you know, like, I don't know, just Elaine sitting with Eddie, you know, talking about the Bengalese galoshes, you know, instead of kicking in a skull, maybe it's like you're strolling through a dewy meadow. You know what I mean? So,
It sounds like you need to get promoted.
that's right. Just promote me out of this department. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's all. Like, it's just one little thing, right? Like, everything else here is so dialed in. And like, this band is so good because like, those tones are no joke, right? Like, this isn't a band that like went into the studio and was just like, all right, sick, whatever, like good enough. You know what I mean? Like, these tones are so good. So it's like, I don't know, just take the extra time, go like one step deeper, you know, on the lyrics. Cause it's just a little too basic that it like pulls me out of it. You know what I mean? Like, instead of Dogs of War, okay, let me finish. Instead of like Dogs of War, like maybe it's like, you know, Hounds of Battle, right? That's all I'm asking for.
Well, you know, the band's name's The Social, which is basically about social services. And maybe just times are just so desperate that it's like blatant class warfare. Hey, look at Discharge. They only said like 6 things, but they said them with impact.
Yeah, and it was 40 years ago, and you know how many bad Discharge clones there's been in the last 40 years where it's like, okay, you're not doing any sort of twist on this, so like I'm just going to listen to Discharge instead. That's my point. Like, this isn't a clone of anything. Like, you're 100% right. Like, they're doing great, you know, UK 82. And like, I'm just saying, like, that's the one thing that pulls me out of this, because otherwise, like, those 2 originals with like a little bit more originality in the lyrics, like, we're talking like all-time songs. You know what I mean? And like, look, that's kind of a thing we've done on this pod before, is like stuff that we really like and we think is really good. That's when it gets like a little more critical because it's so close to being perfect. You know what I mean? That's all.
Absolutely.
Chris, I'll shoot it to you.
Yeah, I like this a lot. Raw, angry boot music. Zach touched on how great it sounds, but it doesn't sound clean or polished. Like, it sounds raw, you know, like sounds gnarly. But like perfectly gnarly. Yeah, a lot of 82, some oi, but more like the hardcore oi, you know, more like just pissed off hardcore that's pushing into oi, I think. Straight up fight music. I don't mind the lyrics. I think, you know, sometimes some of the simple things are the catchiest and they make good, you know, fight music chants. Dogs of War, my favorite track. Just such a good vocal hook and the sing along on the chorus. Yeah, this is really good. I dug it.
Hell yeah. Let's go on. You know, we should have said in our 2024 wish list, we want all the Froy bands to make it to America. Because goddamn, they don't miss. Yeah, that's right. We. So here's another one, and I'm gonna butcher the name, both names, but you know, go check it out on Spotify or whatever. The band is Grisaille, and then the record, Dan, you could probably do it better, but Entry Du Verses. It's a 2-song EP. They would probably say that, what was the phrase that the other band used? Like, they're dark oi, something like that, cold oi. You know, maybe it's that. It's a little dark, wavy, But this thing sounds great, dude. And it's just like another one, like, oh, another sick ass Freud band that like touches into like those dark melodies while still being like 100% like punk sounding. I love this shit, dude. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I'm actually curious to hear Dan's take when it comes back to him, because I feel like they're pulling from a lot of things that I don't really have on my catalog to reference. But yeah, this is the singer and the bass player from Syndrome 81, also both guys behind the project Mentality 81. The bass player owns a recording studio, records a bunch of punk stuff in that region. And these two guys are just super creative. Like they just, two of the people that just kind of have creativity just dripping out of their ears, and obviously like absolute lovers of punk and hardcore, and just always working on new projects, and tinkering, always in the lab, trying something different in a different lane of punk rock, and everything they do is just like perfection. I love it. Yeah, this 2 songs, super melodic, a lot more melodic than Syndrome 81, a lot more less anthemic, I guess, but still sounding classic punk, still sounding very French. I think one of the things I feel like we always go back to anytime there's a punk band that's a little bit more cleaner, sharp sounding guitar tones over like some moody punk, we always reference the Wipers, I feel like. And I think there's some of that in this, but certainly a little bit more of a French flair. Very laid back beat. Even when it goes to more of like a mid tempo, the beat is simple, and like the guitars, I don't know, what's really cool about this is like the guitars and the vocals, the bass and the drums, all the different individual parts, they work really well together, and they kind of take turns like letting each other be the star of the show. It's not like a hardcore band where like everyone is banging it out full force and kind of competing for attention. like even hardcore that's really creative, a lot of times like everything is loud, and then maybe one thing will get louder for like a guitar lead or whatever. The instruments in this just give each other like so much space, and the production's super clean, bright as hell. It just works really well.
I do think that like the bass being so high and clear in the mix, like really is what keeps this thing moving though. So you're right. Mm-hmm. Like the guitar kind of like, flickers around the top of it sometimes and isn't always like, it's like not a show off dude, right? Like sometimes there'll be a ring out, or sometimes it's like a little more like just going for the vibe, like not playing chords. But like this bass player is always strumming, and it like keeps that pulse going, and that's kind of why I feel like this doesn't lose like its punk edge, even though like I think that saying like it's a mashup of like the Wipers and Joy Division would be like not too far off. I don't know. Dan, what do you think?
I love this so much. J'adore. What I would say, the way that the pronunciation of the band, it could either be Grisaille or Grille. I'm not sure which, because it means grayness, and gris is grey in French. So Grisaille, I think, is how it's probably pronounced. And then the entre deux averses is between two showers. So like between two rainstorms is what the name of the thing. And I think that's quite accurate, because what these songs are giving you is, and it's so perfect that you pick that out, Zach, that the bass and the drums are driving this like a proper oi band. And then the guitar and the vocals to an extent are dipping. the vocals are dipping in and out of it being like punk and oi with a little bit of flourish, but the guitar is almost, it could be like something like The Cure, even as dark jangle of like the Smiths, like a darker Smiths Johnny Marr played song.
Yeah,
the guitar work is brilliant, and it is not, like you say, not stealing the show. Chris had a good point, like saying each part rises to the fore, but I think when it's all firing on all cylinders and you really hear the guitar jangling, but the tuneful, aggressive vocals going at the same time, and they're just so well written, like catchy hooks throughout this too. Even though, you know, we can't really sing along because we don't know the language, it's still so catchy and so brilliant. And I mean, do these guys ever miss? They're like, nope. They're killing it. Like, Brest, vive la Brest. It is like, just, this crew just knows how to write music, and thank God they do, because we love it. Like, here's two more Froy songs that people are going to be, you know, going absolutely wild for, because this is yet coming out the same camp, but giving you a different style, a different vibe, but something that you're going to want on vinyl the minute it's pressed. And we're all going to want it, and we're going to, you know, all send off for it together to save on that shipping, because this is brilliant.
That's right. Everyone, jump into the playlist. Check all this stuff out, 185milessouth.com. Playlist link at the top of the page or on Spotify. Handle business.
But you know what? There's things called fun facts and then unfun facts.
Fun facts and then unfun facts.
All right, everyone. We are going to do a fun or unfun facts segment here. And I am going to lay out for you 10 hardcore singers who were drummers first. And this is in alphabetical order. Here we go. Alex Barreto. He was the drummer of Hard Stance and Against the Wall, and then he sang for Statue. Anaya, the drummer of Dare, went on to be the singer of the band Zulu. Ari Katz, he drummed for Enough, and then he went on to sing for Lifetime. Brendan Yates, everyone knows, drummer of Trapped Under Ice, went on to be the singer of Turnstile. Harley Flanagan, the drummer of the Stimulators, went on to sing for the inferior Cro-Mags record of the first two, but he was the singer on Best Wishes. Okay, we go on to Mike Judge. He drummed for Death Before Dishonor and Youth of Today before he sang for the band Judge. Ray Capo was the drummer of Violent Children before he sang for Youth of Today. Rabies, hardcore legend, was a drummer for Agnostic Front before he sang for Warzone. Ron Reyes, before he sang for Black Flag, he was the drummer of Red Cross. What's up? And everyone, the legend Scott Vogel, he drummed for a band called Fade Away before he sang for Slugfest, Buried Alive, Terror, and every one of your other favorite bands.
The fight lasts for hours, each ram battering the other dozens of times.
Head to head.
All right, we are going head to head. 212 inches from 1983. Neither the first release of the band, but possibly the most epic release in their catalog. We are putting the SSD 12-inch Get It Away up against the 12-inch by Minor Threat, Out of Step. Holy shit, dude. It's pretty insane to pit these against each other because they're both full-blown classics. Dan, let's go to you. Which one is better?
Oh, well, the thing is, there are two bands that no one really sounds like. Like, there are bands that can come close, or they can wear that on the sleeve, but even with SSD, you can't even necessarily want to sound like SSD and pull it off. You'll just end up sounding really weird. So SSD are giving you music that you just can't really understand the flow of it, but you know it's just so good. And then that vocal is so wild and deranged almost. Minor Threat are giving you the aggression and the power the other way, but they're giving you like an aggressive tunefulness that is just it's godly. And they're both giving you thought out awesome lyrics. So it comes down to a personal preference thing. And, you know, Betray by Minor Threat is on Out of Step, and that might be one of the best musical songs ever recorded, ever. Then you've also got just such bangers as It Follows, Think Again, Look Back and Laugh, Sob Story, No Reason, Little Friend, Out of Step, Redux, and Cashing In. Cashing In is so good, and it is so filled with spite to their own scene that calls them sellouts. I love that. I love commentating on what's going on around you in real time, much as, you know, what is happening, you know, with songs like Get Away and Force Down Your Throat. In Boston, being a straight edge band and it not being a really understood concept at that time, like people thought, like, if you're straight edge, you want the entire world to be that way, and it, you know, and then get aggressively their opinions hurt and come back at you. So SSD were dealing with a lot in that regard. I'm gonna say my favorite is Minor Threat by quite a distance, even though I absolutely adore the SSD. But when you've got Betray, Look Back and Laugh, and, you know, Little Friend and Sob Story, these are just songs from another universe, just left on Earth for us to revel in. I'm going Minor Threat.
I think that, like, the Minor Threat journey makes a lot of sense, right? And, like, this is kind of, they're aging here for sure. You know, like, they're turning into something else beyond the first 2 7-inches, but it's, like, very graceful. And Ian's voice is still, like, top notch, like, so perfect, right? And the recording's perfect and all that. But obviously it's not as, like, aggressive as the stuff before. I also think that, like, Dan, do you think that there's filler on this at all?
I mean, the only thing that I don't think Out of Step needs to be re-recorded, the song per se, but I mean, it gave us the Whether It's Playing Golf, like, which is always blew my mind when I was a young person going, what the fuck? You know, I mean, I don't think there's filler on either of these releases.
I hate that part. And, like, it's because it doesn't, like, build into anything, right? He doesn't, like, crescendo into, like, going back to the chorus or anything. It's just kind of like a pointless part. And he kind of does that a fair amount on this record. Like, he'll do, like, the little talk parts, you know? But yeah, I don't know. I could lose that part. I could lose the second half of Cashing In, you know, like the No Place Like Home part. Like, that could go.
I love that. I love
you
that.
do. Chris, what's your take on that? You like that last part of Cashing In?
Not really. I don't think that this record has any filler on it, but I agree that part is a little bit obnoxious. But
so you guys hate the Wizard of Oz?
Yes, and dude, I will make a giant hardcore confession and get crucified for it. I hate the breakdown on Betray.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Interesting.
It's like funky, dude.
Yeah. And then this is someone who's going to love all Yo Mosh from here on out.
I will. It's just I don't love it. I don't think it works. I picture like an Elaine Bennis dancing, you know, like it's it. I like the Sick of It All version more, you know, for like the mosh part. Like the rest of the song is brilliant, right? Like the chorus, that guitar work and the vocal on the chorus is like apex hardcore, right? Dun 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 betray, dun 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 betray. It's perfect, you know. And this song, it follows one of my favorite punk songs of all time, you know. And really, I think the blueprint for Uniform Choice, is just right there, right? It's 83. It's so tuneful in the "If I Love Me." It's like fucking A, dude. You know, Dubar like got a whiff of that and was like, "I'm making a band out of it." You know what I mean? And then like, and the thing about like the Betray breakdown too is like, dude, the Little Friend breakdown is like where it's at. You know what I mean? So good. So I don't know. Like that, those are my. I feel very strange, like making any knocks about Minor Threat because I love them. I put them on my Super 7 of Straight Edge, and I would never disrespect this band. Also, this is an all time album cover. We got to mention that, right? It's a piece of the package.
No doubt.
Like it's all time, dude. But
It's the number one of all time.
you think it's the best album cover of all time?
I do.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, like, it's one of those things where, like, I think you could make the argument for it, right? And like, that's
Simplicity.
a nice. Okay. Well, that's a nice segue into like what I was going to say about the SSD is like, I think that like if someone made the argument that this is like the greatest piece of hardcore ever, like, I'm here for it, right? Like, this is so unique in the way that like they were a more straightforward band on like the previous release from '82, right? And here they are, like, it's stripped down. It's not an LP. It's 6 songs. Every song is completely unique. Every song goes for it in like their own just insane way. Like they're not following any sort of blueprint here. It's just like get in the room and play as hard as you can and as YOLO as you can. And like the vocals are just completely unhinged and unmatched. You know, the pulsing of the music is like, you know, what people love about Prime Black Flag, right? Or later, like what they love about Blast. Like it's here, like it has like that pulse and the pounding, you know, but this just has like the most out of control vocals on top of it. And, you know, early in the trivia, we did, you know, the little exercise of play like 10 seconds of a song. Like every single one of these songs, like, you know what they are from the first 5 seconds. Like everything is iconic. It's just 100% perfect. And the Minor Threat Out of Step is so close to being perfect too. And like, I really give it so much extra love because I think it is like the most graceful, like, example of a hardcore band aging into something else. You know, like obviously there's bands that put out good second records. You know, we talked Poison Idea tonight. Like, I think that their run is fabulous, you know, like, but they don't really, I wouldn't call it aging. Like they don't get less hard. You know what I mean? Like this is like turning into something else and it's still like great. It's still like hardcore, you know, but yeah, the little out of step bridge, the back end of Cashing In, and the funk breakdown on Betray. I don't know. Those little things going up against 100% perfect hardcore record in Get It Away. I think I'm going Get It Away. What do you think, Chris?
Well, I'm glad that you picked Get It Away because for me, it's not particularly a hard one. I'm going with Out of Step, and I'll share why. But before I do, I think it's worth pointing out that I think a lot more of the blueprint of modern roots hardcore owes more to SSD than to this Minor Threat record. So, for example, a band like Spy or like even like a band like Gulch, they're drawing from some different things. But like, I think if you go all the way back to the root of a lot of what those types of bands are doing, I think it's way closer to Get It Away than Out of Step. But you know, like you said, Zach, like there really is only one SSD. This record, it's fantastic. It's unhinged. It's raw. It's aggressive. It's blistering. It's great, but the Minor Threat record is just also great, and it's a little bit easier of a listen, which maybe makes the SSD record more I don't know, bona fide from like a hardcore perspective. But like, if I'm gonna pick one of these to listen to just on any given day, it's probably gonna be Out of Step. At least 8 to 2, if we're looking at a ratio. Sorry, did you have something you want to add there?
No, I'll jump in after you.
To talk on Out of Step, like, yeah, the intensity certainly steps down from their previous efforts for Minor Threat. But they add some stuff to the formula that makes it, like you said, a good progression, coming of age. The lyrics, the music all get a little bit smarter. And then, Zach listed off the songs like one by one, but like I think it's worth saying again. Betray, an all-timer. It Follows, absolute hit. So good that they made an awesome horror movie after it. Think Again, Look Back and Laugh, Sob Story, No Reason, Little Friend. You're probably not going to find too many people that are going to say these are their favorite Minor Threat songs ever, although I'm sure there are some. But they're all 8s, 9s, 9s at least, or 8s at least, maybe 9s from a band that just had so many 10s. I like the Out of Step retake. I get what you're saying, Zach, where, his little golf monologue is not crescendoing into it, but I think it kind of works because it's like he's talking and then he's like, because, it goes like, just like, there's no turning up of the volume knob. It's just like, you're at 2 and then all of a sudden you're at 10. Then Cashing In, I feel like they give you a little bit of a glimpse of kind of where they're going to go on Salad Days. It's a little bit different. I don't know. I'm going Out of Step, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, I love it. I don't know. I think that SSD is so perfect in a way that like I think it's better than the other SSD stuff, right? Like it's better than the first record. Obviously it's better than the next two that come. And like so the Minor Threat is like it's very hard for me to think it's the best thing ever when it's like they did 2 other records that are better.
For sure,
including Filler, which is like, again, like if I'm listening to people's arguments on what is the greatest hardcore record ever, it's like if you say Filler, it's like, okay, yeah, it makes sense. Like I'm with that, right? I'm with like Get It Away. I'm with like the Roar tape, right? I'm with the Native Pro 7-inch. Like these are things that like, it's like, okay, yeah, like I buy that. That's not like some hot take, like any 4 of those. It's like, okay, that makes like perfect sense. Like that's a contender. It's not like, I don't know. It's like objectively could be the best hardcore record ever. So I don't know. It's just the fire of the SSD is like kind of unmatched by anything, And so, yeah, I can't lose it. And it's just one of those records where like I have to listen to it sometimes, like there's other like records that I feel that way about, like Earth Crisis Firestorm, like sometimes I just like, I have to listen to it, like, and I'll get that urge, like just at a strange point, of my day. And it's like, okay, I have to listen to this right now. You know what I mean? Or the Burn 7-inch. And like, this is one of them too, right? Like, it's like, I just have to listen to SSD right now. Like there's nothing else like it. There's no like, oh, I can listen to something close to it. It's like, no, there's only like one Get It Away. And like, this is the only thing, so that's that.
Well,
Dan, final thoughts on this.
Okay. One final thought would be the Ian part where he's talking during Out of Step. I think that's a reaction of Straight Edge being misconstrued and him having to like explain it in the middle of the song, which is an interesting thing. So yeah, it might not work as well as the original, but it is interesting to know that in the time and the place that is what it is. And, this is why hardcore is amazing, because we have all these opinions, but even though they weren't on my straight edge Super 7, nobody beats Minor Threat. Nobody puts Baby in the corner. And, I love hardcore. I love Minor Threat. The end.
All right. Dan, final thoughts on the episode, not just this segment.
Well, I was wrapping up the episode with that line too.
Oh, okay. Well, then we'll
just enjoy all the music, the new music we talked about, and then get at us in the comments, get it away or out of step. Let us know.
Yeah, we'll put it up this week. Chris, final thoughts on the episode.
Yeah, and the segment, just to circle back, like I think the purpose of this exercise is not to put two records and say which is better. It's just to have a discussion about two of the best records of all time. So I totally agree with everything that you said, Zach, like about SSD and this record's place in the pantheon of hardcore. And episode at large, again, just thanks for having me. Always in love, just chatting hardcore with you guys. And I don't know, spend a lot of time putting shine on new bands that we dig. And, again, big thanks to the listeners that point us to these a lot of times. So please keep hipping us to stuff that you like, and we'll keep spreading the word as much as we can.
Dan, two things. How bummed are you that you don't get points for a steal on the 25 to life section? And also, where can the people find you?
Answering the first thing, very bummed, because I was so excited when Chris was like listening to it for the second time. I'm like, I think I've got this.
Yeah, it was glorious.
I've got this. And then people can find me on Instagram at Southpaw Instagrammer, or you can catch me at the Whistle Stop in San Diego on the 3rd Friday, at the Cat Club in San Francisco on the 4th Friday, doing two of the best Britpop nights you'll ever hear.
That's right. Chris, where can the people find you?
You can find me at Chris Williams51 on Twitter and Instagram. And I will also say, after the trivia section, I instantly pulled up the Rev catalog and just like felt so ashamed of the easy ones that I forgot, and then just weird ones that I was like, oh wait, yeah, that was before.
You guys got more than I expected. Like, to be on the spot like that, it's very hard. And like, you guys got like, I don't know, what, 70%? Like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, but it's just funny to pull up the list and be like, okay, Bold, yeah. Shelter,
well,
yeah, all right.
Yeah, you got Slipknot and not Bold.
Quicksand.
So, that's wild.
Yeah.
But hell yeah. Everyone, get at me. The best way is to email 185milessouth@gmail.com. Also, it's 185 Miles South on Instagram, Twitter, Threads, and my personal Zach Retaliate on Instagram. And Retaliate is the best on Instagram. Retaliate will see everyone in 2025, maybe. And that's all. We love you all. We'll talk to you again next Monday on Patreon.